What is going on, folks? Welcome back to Base Hits and Banter. I am one of your two fabulous hosts, Haley McClinney, joined alongside one of my best buddies and best friends to banter with.
It's me, Sam Fisher. So let's just all take a moment that Halo did admit in public that I am a bestie. So I think we
That's
can end
it.
it here. I feel like we've covered everything we need to cover. I'm feeling really good.
That's the end of the show.
Thank you guys.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful week. No, super excited to get into some top 25 polls today, some mental health, and we're also going to be joined by one of our very good friends and the matron of mental health in the softball space, Ally Carda, today, which is absolutely amazing. Sam, do you want to get into some top 25 softball
Yeah.
poll action? What stood out to you this weekend?
I let's talk about softball. What else do we do? I thought obviously this weekend, Mary Nutter is the big tournament. It's I feel really spoiled. You get opening weekend, you get Clearwater, you get Mary Nutter. It's like boom, 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 working your way to the World Series in Oklahoma City in June. So I thought there were some good upsets this weekend, and I thought that the teams that are, how do you say, supposed to
Mm-hmm.
win and supposed to show out are
Mm-hmm.
starting to find their groove. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that one team that stood out to me this weekend was UCLA. I think that they had a very rough first couple of weekends. And I say very rough because it's UCLA. Some other programs, it might have been a very normal first two weekends, but for UCLA, I think they have a little bit of a different program history in that they had a rough couple of first weekends. But they beat Nebraska, they beat Northwestern, Illinois, and they beat Tennessee. And Tennessee has been, I think ranked fifth. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a good weekend and that stood out.
I was really impressed by the Bruins as well. I feel like Mary Nutter is their home away from home, so I feel like it's a very comfortable place for them to play, and they're out there every year.
Yeah.
But going from Clearwater to that tournament, not an easy thing to do. Like
Mhm.
that's a very tough schedule, but for them to bounce back, and I thought Taylor Tinsley was really, really good in the circle against Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tennessee, speaking of, didn't didn't have that great of a weekend. They lost to UCLA
Yeah.
and then they got gollywobbled, and I think the biggest upset of the weekend by Cal State Fullerton. Big shout out
Yeah.
to the Titans of
Yeah.
Cal State Fullerton.
Listen, that I was watching because Tennessee, before they played Fullerton, they played LMU, my sweet little Lions,
The
and
Lions, baby.
they perfect gamed the Lions
They
and they
did.
looked good. Our pitcher held them to 4 runs. It was,
Hmm.
they did what they had to do to win, but they threw a perfect game. And then they went out and they lost in 5 innings to another mid-major. So
Unbelievable.
interesting day for them where, you know how in sport, it's kind of one of those unexplainable phenomenons where you're like, how is one team showing up in this game and another team showing up in this next game? Like two different teams.
Bizarre.
It is bizarre. So yeah,
Bizarre.
an interesting loss for Tennessee, but super, super heck yeah for Fullerton.
Yeah, and that's next week going into the Judy Garman Classic. Am I right there?
Yes,
And that'll
yes.
be a really good tournament next weekend too. Hopefully, maybe are we going to see Fullerton in the rankings?
I mean, if they keep
Maybe.
playing the way that they're playing, especially there's upsetting a team and beating them 3-2, 4-2, something like that. And then there is kicking some teeth in, kind of beating a team,
Yeah.
which is
They sent folks to the dentist this
they
weekend.
did. They
I mean, they really did. Um, let's talk about the Mary Nutter schedule though for a minute
I would love
because
that.
there were all of these phenomenal teams, and I don't know who I need to pick this bone with, but there were all of these phenomenal teams. You got Oklahoma, Northwestern, UCLA, Tennessee, Baylor. I'm missing some for sure,
Mhm.
but I felt like there were more good teams in the tournament than there were good games where I felt
Yeah,
like I absolutely had to tune in. Like I wanted to see OU Tennessee. I
yeah,
wanted to see OU UCLA.
yeah,
Like and not just a knock against Oklahoma. I mean, they played Mississippi
right.
State and they won handily. Mississippi State's been playing really well, but I wonder why that is. I don't know. Who a
Yeah.
bone maybe potentially to pick with the scheduling of
I
these games?
I wonder that too, because I know that in preseason stuff, like there's some teams that don't want to play Oklahoma. I understand, you're like, you're working for your RPI, you're working, you want your kids to maybe build some confidence in the
Mhm.
preseason and get ready for their conference play. But yeah, it would have been nice to see something that would have been maybe a potential World Series face-off that they could say, back in February, we saw these teams compete at the Marionette tournament. So yeah, I agree. I
Right.
did feel like Clearwater showed us some more really good face-offs, and Marionette
Hmm.
I really do wonder what goes in the process of that. Because even in Oklahoma, Texas, how fun would that have been on the
Yeah.
West Coast instead of just in a conference play?
Yeah. Why not? That
Yeah.
would be so freaking fun. That would have been great.
Yeah.
Well, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Mississippi State because
Yeah.
they have looked really good in the past couple of weeks. They beat Clemson last week. They had a really good showing this weekend.
Yeah.
What stands out to you about the fighting Bulldogs?
I just really feel like, we were just talking about maybe Tennessee showing up as two different teams in the same day. Mississippi State seems to be showing up the same way
Yeah,
every game. They're taking the field. They, being led by Samantha Ricketts. What a boss over there.
doesn't get better.
It sure doesn't. Maybe instilling in them that, what, we're dogs, number one. Um, but going through and being and showing up consistently, and their losses, yeah, they lost to Oklahoma 9-3, but here's the thing. When you're talking about losing to Oklahoma and it's not a 5 inning game, that to me is a close game right
That's a
now.
victory.
Yeah, that's a victory. And they did have a couple of upsets, but it was not in the case of blowouts. It was just really consistent ball. Maybe one hit here, one hit there changes the game,
Hmm.
and they could be 14-0 instead of 11-3,
Hmm.
So I do
For
think
sure.
that the consistency to me is standing out to them, and I know that starts 100% from the top and the way that they're building their culture over there.
Yeah. Big shout out to the Bulldogs. They've always been one of the most scrappy programs to play.
Totally.
I remember playing them in the SEC when I was in school, and it was just always you were always supposed to win, but it was never
Mhm.
easy to win to beat
Mhm.
that team. And so big shout out to Sam Ricketts who's doing her thing over there in Starkville.
Yeah.
Very, very awesome. Speaking of consistency though, one of the teams that I was really high on last week and even still this week,
Hmm.
the Texas Longhorns look really good, but I don't know if you got a chance to see that game against Stanford. Stanford comes into Texas, into Austin,
Yeah.
beats them in extra innings, and there was some controversy apparently around this as well because they called a runner out for leaving early,
That's right.
which I like it was challenged and I guess reviewed and then like said she left early, called her out, whatever. I don't know that I like that rule of like you being able to review a runner leaving early. I get
Yeah.
why it's there,
Yeah.
but as a proud base runner myself,
Yeah.
I don't leave perfectly on time every time. I'll openly admit that. But
Yeah.
I sure as heck don't want to leave late.
Right.
You
100%.
know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to leave early. I'm trying to
Yeah.
leave on time, but I'm not trying to leave late either. So I don't know. How do you feel about
I
that?
I'm with you completely. And I think that's a really good tip for, for the kids out there listening about base running is not being afraid to be called out for leaving early. But I do
Mhm.
agree with you. I think that there is a line of, okay, she's leaving so early that it's obvious. There are
Right.
plays that we see where we can't even tell until the play is slowed down,
Right.
showed from different angles. So if it comes down to that, that makes it really tough and kind of takes away that game essence, I think.
Mhm.
If it's obvious, it's obvious. But like you said, I don't want to be late because being late could be the difference of being out by a step or safe by a step. So
1000%.
it's tough.
Big shout out to Stanford though. They took the L in Clearwater against Texas,
Yeah.
came back out to Austin, licked their wounds, showed up.
Yeah.
Jari Kennedy is just an absolute
Like
stud. Like
that thing and that rise ball thing that she
I
does.
when I really want to be in the box against her because I want to know what it looks like. But
Yeah.
just this is very rare for me to be able to watch a softball game and be like, oh my Lord, that's
Mhm.
moving
Yeah.
a lot. And you couple the fact with she's throwing like 80 miles an hour
Yeah.
too.
Minimum.
But it's still breaking that much. Like
Yeah.
normally there's a trade-off, right? More movement, less velocity. High
Right.
velocity, less movement.
Right.
She has legitimate both, and it's terrifying and it's really scary to watch.
She's all that. And I love that you said that you want to be in the box to see it because I was thinking in the opposite of like, I'm super glad I'm not in the box.
Give me
So
a challenge.
yeah.
Give me a challenge. I like rise balls though. I don't think that's a secret. Like I like hitting I like the tomahawk stuff, you know.
You folks, you're listening to a podcast where two people are very in love with the rise ball. Do some have more success than others? Yeah, for sure. But are we
Sure.
going to go after him? You're darn tootin'.
Darn tootin'. Swing
Darn.
hard, you might hit it. That's the best hitting advice I could ever give anyone.
It's the thing of beauty. And the rise balls are the ones that go the farthest. Of course, I'm
They
going to
are.
get
They
them
are. And they look so good coming in, chest high.
right at your
They
eye.
might soar over our heads and we might swing and miss, but take your chances.
Yeah, I love
Take your
those
chances. A
odds.
lot of people are taking their chances against Kennedy, so
Yeah, and the chances are low.
very low.
We are taking those chances. I did want to point out there are a few undefeated teams, and one of them wears the old crimson over there down in Tuscaloosa.
Ayo. Roll
That's
Tide.
what a good start. I feel so pumped for them starting off so strong.
Yeah, it's good. And I mean they haven't played the toughest schedule.
Right.
But I think when and Murph is so good at this. Like when you lose so much talent from a
Hmm.
roster the year before, you
Hmm.
lose leadership. You lose Montana Fouts, like one of the best pitchers college softball has ever seen.
Hmm.
It can be so tough to get your confidence back and find your identity early on in the season. But I
Yeah.
think them scheduling the way that they have, it's allowed them to not necessarily feel it like less pressure, but I just think it's allowed them to find their identity a lot more.
I think that's a good
And
point. Yeah.
it's created a really like it pops their culture pops off the screen to me as I'm watching them. It
Yeah.
feels like
Yeah.
the team's all in it for the at bats. It seems like they're developing. It seems like they have clear solidified leaders in that group. Like and I think they kind of know who they are. And I'm
Yeah.
very interested to see Arizona, the
Hmm.
Wildcats come to Tuscaloosa this weekend, so that'll be their first really big test.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how the Crimson Tiders roll on.
Yeah, for
We'll see.
sure. And I think you bring up a good point talking about being the conversation we just had about Oklahoma and their schedule, and they're undefeated, still undefeated. They're returning players who could win a fourth national championship compared to Alabama, like you said, kind of recreating their identity coming through it. Also, LSU still undefeated. Like we have some good I think conversations going with some good teams. So it's gonna
I
be
I can't wait for conference play to start.
yeah,
SEC is going to be great.
yeah,
PAC's going to be great.
yeah.
Last year of the PAC, it's going to be great. It's going to go out with a bang.
RIP.
Big 12, you're going to have Oklahoma State, Texas, and OU.
Yeah. And Baylor's playing
And
well.
Baylor.
Yeah.
Like,
Baylor's playing well. We're
holy
gonna softball,
macaroons.
man.
Go softball.
Go softball. You
Really
said it.
really freaking great.
Roll Tide and roll softball.
Roll softball, holy buckets, foaming at the
Holy
mouth.
buckets, you guys. So Halo, I would love, that talk about some good softball banter, am I right? But
Always.
for those of you who have now listened, this is our third episode. So cute. Trifecta. We're going into the mental health part of the conversation, and we kind of were feeling like we wanted to name this.
Yeah.
And we don't know what to call it, like
Yeah.
we would love for you guys to tell us what we should call it.
Yeah, help us come up with a name for our mental health segment. I don't know what it is. I'm not creative. I'm not very good with words. I'm not the brightest crayon in the box, you know what I mean? So if we could rely on our bantees,
Is that what
which
should we call you guys that?
let us know.
Yeah.
We're a show built by the people for the people.
That's the darn truth.
So I think the people should decide what our mental health segment is called and also decide what their identity is.
Yeah. We're here for it.
I personally like bantees.
No, that rolled right off the tongue. Also, you guys should know that when we were thinking of what to name this podcast, Base Hits Banter was the first idea out of Haley McClenny's mouth, and we said yes. So usually that first idea is priceless. So
Base Hits Banter, just out here trying to please all the bantees.
yes. So bantees, let us know. Also, if you have other ideas of what to call yourselves, you know where to find us at Sam Fisher 52 or at Haley Mac 8.
That's us.
Or Base Hits Banter on the internet as well. So all that being said, let's talk mental health.
Let's do it.
I think this week we want to talk about balance, tips for student athletes. You've got school, you've got softball, you've got social life. Halo, what are some things that you feel helped you, whether it was the same across the board through high school, through college, even now out of college, or has it evolved? Has it morphed? What are some tips and tricks you got there?
Yeah, I definitely think it's evolved, and I think it's always going to evolve depending on where you're at and what season of life that you're kind of in.
Hmm.
So like I know in high school for me, like I always felt like I could only really pick two. Like I could pick having a really big social life,
Yeah.
being really focused on softball, and being really focused on school. When I was in high school, I didn't put my social life off to the side. I still have great friends. I still have friends that I talk to this day from
Yeah.
high school, but I kept my circle relatively small. Like I always knew from a young age that I wanted to move on to something bigger and better than just being like the varsity jock that like I didn't want to be that person that peaked in high school. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I was like on the right path and going on to do bigger and better things. And so I was really focused on those two big buckets of softball in school because I knew
Yeah.
that I wasn't going to be able to have a great softball career if I didn't focus on my academics. And that was really,
Mhm.
really important to me. As I've gotten older, I don't really have to go to school. So
Yeah.
that's very nice. But I do work. Like we both work full time for Athletes Unlimited.
Mhm.
So I think now in the season of my life, I'm just trying to stay as present as I possibly can. And I'm trying to create rhythm rather than balance. Like, I don't think there's ever going to be a time in my life where I feel 33.3% in school, in work, in softball, and in social life.
Yeah.
There's never going to be a time, but I can find a rhythm where I'm bouncing between those things in different seasons depending on
Yeah.
how I'm feeling. So I really like one of my biggest focuses is just trying to stay present with where
Yeah.
I'm at and then creating healthy rhythms around all of those different buckets in my life. What about you? What do you focus on?
That first of all, I just need you to know how amazing that just was.
Pin drop.
Pen drop, because these mics are being held up, people.
They
Um,
are.
Rhythm versus balance. I think that's a really, really great differentiator because you're right. Like I'm not gonna things might not end up always being equal and balanced out in that way. But yeah, I look back and I think of my wedding and I had 10 bridesmaids and each one of them I met through softball.
Yep.
And I think my social life has really revolved around softball and softball players. So my best friends in the world, we talk about they're from softball. So the social life happened around the tournaments, at the hotels and those things, and your high school team and making the most of the people that you're spending your time with already. We called them muggles, the people who didn't play sports. There wasn't a ton of muggle time, especially because the understanding of what it takes to be a student athlete, I think, is really important in a friendship.
For sure.
Because it sucks. I have missed so many things in my life
Mhm.
because of softball, and I
Mhm.
think that's something that, especially the more you go, the more you can relate to.
Totally.
School and, like you said, the buckets, school and softball are obviously the two North Stars of your career and of your high school career, your college career, in that you have to figure out what you need to be successful in both of those things because they're both
Totally.
high priorities. They're both number one priorities.
Totally.
Um, I look back, LMU has an indoor cage now with lights, and we didn't have like I had to go home when the sun went down at LMU. I said, thank
Wow.
goodness I had to go home when the sun went down because then I went to study. If I had lights, oh my goodness, I've been there till midnight.
Yeah, no studying, just dingers.
You learn what you need as a player, and I remember as a player and as a student, and I remember learning this later on in college that I needed to go to sleep. I could not do the 3 a.m. study sessions. I could not be up past midnight writing a paper. I had to
Right.
go to sleep, and my grades improved because I wasn't killing myself trying to get everything in.
Preach.
So I think that getting to know yourself as a ball player, but also getting to know yourself as a student, and then trying to,
Mm,
like you said, trying to find that rhythm. And
yeah.
shoot, you think when you graduate college, you're like, okay, I bet I got that all figured out. I
Mhm.
carried all that full plate, but I feel like the responsibilities have not lessened as I've gotten older.
No, they've gotten more.
My goodness.
Like now I'm, like you got laundry, you got a full-time job, we got dogs to take care of, we got a house to clean, there's a lot. There's a lot
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
Meals to prep.
Oh,
There's a lot going on and it's tough to balance. But I love,
spouses to talk to. Goodness
yeah,
me.
spouse to talk. I mean, come on,
He, he wants
We're
to
being,
talk about his day. And I'm like, I guess I have to, I gotta
you gotta listen to
attention
K-Dog.
here. Yeah.
Right, gotta listen to K-Dog. Which, but
Yeah.
I could also call Kylie K-Dog, just so you
No,
know.
100. We are, yeah, 100%. We are spending our
Okay.
lives with K-Dogs. Yep.
K-Dogs. All right. Big shout out to the K-Dogs
We love
in our
you.
lives. But I love what you were touching on of figuring out what works for you because we talked
Mm,
about this with Ally Carda, which you guys are going to get to hear that in a second. It's going to be
yeah.
absolutely incredible, the
Yeah.
conversation that we had with her. But she was talking about figure out what works for you and
Mm,
like don't compare yourself to other people that are on
right.
the same journey because no two journeys are the exact same. So, Sam, if it helps you to write out every single thing on your to-do list and prioritize it and time block it and be like, I'm devoting 2 hours to
Yeah.
this marketing plan for Athletes Unlimited, or I'm walking Reggie for 30 minutes at this time and I'm doing
Yeah.
like that may work for you. Awesome. That's not necessarily going to work for me or for anyone else, but like you've got to find what works for you and not be afraid to prioritize that. I
Right.
think there's a time and space for getting advice from people and like sure, like get as many options as you can, but don't be afraid to experiment with your
Totally.
processes either, you know?
Totally. Yes. And that's a really relatable point to on the field stuff too. I remember my dad always said you can learn something from anybody. Like if you
Mm.
get tips from five different people about your swing and you like nibble, 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 you can take the one thing that works for you. Not everything is going to
Mm.
you, but because you have to kind of be protective of yourself, you have to be protective of your swing. You have to do things that you're like, you know what? I want to continue learning and get better in my processes. So you
Mm.
can learn something from anybody, but that doesn't mean that everything is going to apply like a blanket. Like you said,
Wow. Yeah.
Rick is so smart.
Preach. I love that guy. I mean, he
He
really
gets it.
is. He gets it. He's really the best. But yeah, pursue balance in your lives and just enjoy the rhythm that comes with the balance.
Fun fact about rhythm, I did lose out on a spelling bee because I spelled rhythm wrong. I forgot that first H. I spelled it RYTHM and they kicked me
Mm.
H. And
Don't forget the H.
never I was probably in 7th grade. It still haunts me to this day, that H. So I think that's a good time to start talking about some other events.
Let's do it.
Speaking of spelling bees.
The Base Hits and Banter News segment has commenced.
Yes. You want to talk a little HPP here, Halo?
Yeah, let's do it. So, Florence, South Carolina, shout out to South Carolina, had over 90 athletes registered for this past Saturday's event. This coming weekend in College Park, Maryland, they're going to be on campus at the University of Maryland.
So
Go
cool.
Terps. They currently have 120 athletes registered and are now accepting walk-up registrations. To get more information on that identifier or others, visit hpp.usasoftball.com.
Wow. Excellent promoter voice.
I, I don't know why I
That
do this.
um
I don't know why I do this when I read the
so
stuff that they give us, but there you
so
have it.
we've got also ahead, we have the USA Softball All-American Games, and those
Amazing.
are for 12 and under athletes to earn an opportunity to make a regional team and play at the USA Softball Hall of Fame complex, which you can see on Halo's sweatshirt is the softball capital of the world.
That it is.
That it is, my
I
friend.
wear this. I wear this sweatshirt every day, but I also wash it every day. So
No, it's important to note that.
want to be clear.
You guys can look for more information, USA Softball All-American Games.com for local tryouts in your association. So it's super cool. Playing in at Hall of Fame Stadium is really, really exciting.
The coolest literal place to play softball in the United States of America, maybe even the world.
Maybe even the world.
Maybe even the world. The Tokyo Dome was pretty cool, I gotta say.
Yeah, that's where I
But
saw Ed Sheeran in concert. It was pretty great.
it's a great venue.
Yeah,
It's a great venue. But the softball capital of the world, I do believe, is Oklahoma City.
100%.
Is Oklahoma City.
So what do we got coming
Speaking
up? Yeah.
speaking of the Hall of Fame complex, it's opening its 2024 season this weekend with
Woohoo!
the 2024 Hosea Bell Red Dirt Classic held at the USA Softball Hall of Fame complex. This year, the Langston University Department of Athletics is proud to showcase 12 colleges and universities from across the Midwest.
That's
We've
awesome.
got McPherson College, Mid-America Christian, Oklahoma City University, Our Lady of the Lake University, great name, Texas
Yes.
Wesleyan, and Arkansas Pine Bluff, among a host of other people that are participating in that Hall of Fame complex event. So that's going to be really exciting. And another fun thing that's happening in Oklahoma, the
Mhm.
Sooners are opening Love's Field, which I think is an awesome thing for the sport of softball.
Huge.
Awesome thing for athletic departments. Shout
Mhm.
out to Love's Travel Stops for
Yeah.
doing the naming rights on that field. Like, that's awesome. But I know the Sooners are very excited to have that opening weekend
Yeah.
there.
They hold that stadium is going to hold 4,200 fans.
Amazing.
And it's going to be packed every game.
It is. Every single game is going
Yeah.
to be sold out.
It's just
Especially like if Oklahoma keeps winning, which I honestly don't see a team right now that is going to beat them without it being like headline breaking news.
100%.
Those fans are just going to keep riding it and
Yeah.
keep supporting and keep donating and keep
Yeah.
this is only the beginning, I think, for college softball, what Oklahoma's doing with that
Yeah.
stadium.
Yeah.
More universities are going to follow suit. More universities are going to step up to the plate. No pun intended. And I just think like softball's in such a good spot right now. I think we say that every week on this
Yeah.
show, but what a cool opportunity. I'm excited. I'm not necessarily cheering for OU, but it's a good moment for softball this
Yes,
weekend.
you can acknowledge that big things are happening because of this reason. You're
Absolutely.
absolutely right. So I think Halo, I think we've covered the things we need to cover, and I don't know if we should keep our Bantees waiting any longer for the great Ally Carda.
Oh my gosh, Bantees, you are going to enjoy this conversation so much, talking about all things softball, most importantly, a deep dive into the mental health space. So please
Yes.
enjoy this conversation with our friend, Olympic medalist, Ally Carda.
At Higginbotham, we put people first. Our specialists are here to serve you, the people you care about, and your success. Insurance, HR, and financial services. Inspired by you.
Well, I am very excited to introduce our special guest on Base Hits and Banter. Today, we have a member of the UCLA Bruins from 2012 to 2015. She earned 3 first-team All-Pac-12 and back-to-back Conference Player of the Year awards. Go Bruins. She also earned back-to-back first-team All-American honors at UCLA. She represented Team USA in the 2020 Olympics. She is a Pan-American gold medalist, a world champion. When you pull up the definition of utility in the dictionary, her picture pops up.
Yeah.
She's Alabama softball's favorite in-law, and she is the matron of mental health in the softball space. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ally Carda.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you. I'm
How
glad
you
to be
doing?
great.
Uh,
So happy to see both of you.
So
what
happy
an
to see
intro.
you.
Halo.
I really was excited to do this.
I was a little nervous. You said Alabama. I'm like, okay, where are we going here?
Alabama softball's favorite in-law. You're in the group now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you text back and forth with Murph, like you're 100% in. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
really great.
You knocked that out of the park.
No pun intended. No,
But nobody does that off Ally, I'm telling you.
Literally nobody.
Thank you.
One key stat I would like to mention: your international ERA is 1.28. So like literally no one touches you.
I didn't even know that. That's fun.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure, I'm convinced that your inter squad scrimmage with Team USA ERA is flat 0.
Flat 0.
Because I have personally walked away with my hands absolutely throbbing after facing Ally Carda. So
You're
It's
too
sawed
kind.
off.
yes.
Wow.
Well, Ally, tell us about what you're up to in your life right now. I know you've
Yeah.
got a big day coming tomorrow, but what are some of the things that you're doing in your off season right now?
So, my off season is right now. It's about to wrap up as I head back to Japan tomorrow. So my big thing during the year, I play in Japan 6 months out of the year. So I head there, like I said, tomorrow. I'm there for 3 to 4 months playing, and then I come back for the summer and I have been playing with USA. You guys know the deal with USA. We got to remake the team every year. So hopefully I'll be able to continue to do that this summer. And then I will head back to Japan in the fall, where I finish up my season there, and just get to play softball all year round, which is awesome.
So fun.
That is so awesome.
It's great.
I just yesterday did a camp with, probably like age 13-year-old kids. And one of the questions that they asked was, how have you ever dealt with burnout, or how do you know, because these kids are playing year round. And then you talk about your schedule, and that baby is year round. So how is that something that you maintain and manage? And do you ever feel where you're like, God, I'm tired? Or are you like, let's just keep going, baby?
Well, so now I'm kind of in the keep going mode, because I love the game right now more than I ever have in my career. But when I graduated in 2015 from UCLA, I didn't want to play softball anymore. Like, I was like, there's no way. I had actually got asked to go to Japan once I graduated, and I said no. And I just was so burnt out then. So I think that transition from college into the pro space was kind of when I had that serious, like, I don't even know if I want to play softball anymore.
Wow.
So that was like a big transition for me. And I think to get through that, I was on different USA teams and was around like you guys. I played with both of you guys in different spaces, and like getting to be around other athletes and people who love the game, and they kind of re-energize you in a different way, or make you look at the game a different way. That kind of helped pull me out of it. But I think, like, if I was a younger kid and going through that, like, play as many sports as you can, right? Like, softball is not I'll be all love it, but playing other things, doing other things, getting involved in other areas will allow you to love softball more, because you have like a different outlook on different things. And then you're like, oh my God, I get to go play softball, instead of it becoming your job or becoming a have to so young. So that's kind of my journey with that. But it's kind of a roller coaster sometimes. Like, sometimes you go through it and you got to push through it. And other times you might be going through it and be like, I need a break. And that's okay.
Yeah. Can you share a little bit of your journey, Ally, through the mental health side of things? Because I know this is something that we're talking about like really heavily on this podcast, and it's something I know so many young kids struggle with. And I think one thing that I admire so much about you, I think we both do, is it's not just like a mental health is important, like stamp a sticker on it from you. You can tell it's really deep, and it's things that you've gone through, and you're so open and willing to share your journey. Can you talk a little bit about just why it's so important to you, and kind of what you're doing now with those younger athletes as well?
Yeah, I think for me, I think I've gone through so many different things. And I think the overall biggest thing where I look at it now is like, I just wish I would have maybe handled some of these things or talked about it sooner, because for me, like, mental health, or for anyone, mental health means so many different things, right? It could be a very serious thing for some people, and they go through some very hard things. And for me, I was going through things, but I didn't feel like they were as hard or as much of a struggle as some other people. So I didn't say anything, because I'm like, okay, well, my issues and the things I'm going through, they're not as bad as what other people are going through.
Wow.
It's all relative, right? So it's like, for me in my life and what I was going through, I was struggling. I was like not doing what I should be doing. I was avoiding things. I didn't want to talk about it, but for that small reason of like, okay, these are hurting me and affecting me, but I'm still not going to say anything, because I like know other people are struggling more than I am.
Wow.
So I think once I like grasped that on everyone's journey is different. Everyone's journey isn't less or more than anyone else's. And like embracing that and being like, okay, I'm struggling in my own ways. Like I talked about burnout post-college, getting into the USA team. I think I kind of lost myself a bit and who I was as an athlete, who I was as a person. It was just like this kind of weird journey I went through, and I struggled with that a lot. So figuring out for me was like, it's okay. I'm struggling in my own way. And what do I need to do to like get better for me? And that's, we can talk about more about that, but that's like, that was a whole process within itself. I know like Halo, we had in 2018, you guys went to World Championships and in Japan. And that was like the big tournament to qualify us for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I was not a part of that team. I didn't make that team. And I shouldn't have, because it's all like connected. I was struggling in so many ways, like with my mental health and who I was and what I was doing, and that I wasn't good enough, but I also wasn't working hard enough. Right. So it was like this whole connected piece of like my personal life and my softball life. And they were just disconnected in so many ways. So I think once I didn't make that team. I saw you guys did an awesome job and qualified. And then we were going to have that next year, like the next tryout for the Olympic team. So like, what direction am I going to go? Am I going to like continue to struggle and not do the things I need to do, or ask for help, or do all these things and just continue to be where I'm at? Or am I going to like, okay, what am I struggling with? Own it, embrace it, and then ask for help, figure out the things I need to do every single day to not only put myself like on that team and the best softball player, but like I think once you become and learn more about yourself as a person, and like you're good and comfortable with yourself as a person, it makes softball so much easier and so much more fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm ready to run through a brick wall right now.
Yeah. Fire me
So
up. You know, Ally, I think one thing that really stands out in what you're talking about and not making that 2018 team is accountability. And I think that that's something that people don't include in conversations of mental health. You know, because I think about when I got cut in 2013, and I said the same thing. I was like, yeah, no, I should not have made that team. I did so bad at tryouts. But the accountability piece of, yeah, I wasn't working hard enough. I wasn't mentally in the right space. So how do you bring yourself to get to that accountability piece? Because it could be hard to look yourself in the mirror and be like, yeah, no, you're not, you need to be better.
Yeah, for sure. I think, and I even still do this now, where like and you hear it all the time, like stick to the process, right? Or like get better today. But like I have fully bought into that. Like, what does that actually look like? Because to like gain the confidence, to gain all the things that you want to be, to make the team or to get the scholarship or to do whatever, like you have to be committed to those small little daily things. And we say that, we know that, but what does that actually mean? And what does it look like for you? Because Halo's process and Sam's process is completely different than what my process. And I think I struggle with that too. I'm like, okay, what am I doing today? And what does my practice look like? What does my bullpen look like? And that's different than what Kat and Monica are doing. So am I doing something wrong? Am I not doing enough? Am I like, you're all in this like constant comparison game, or like just looking for other things other than like, okay, I'm going to completely buy into what I'm doing. I'm not gonna worry about what anybody else is doing today. What does practice look like? What is my bullpen going to be? And then stick to that. Like, it doesn't matter what Halo's going to do or what Monica's doing. And Monica's like throwing a 45-minute heavy bullpen today, going to batters. And like today I need a lighter day and I'm going to do some long toss. And I'm okay with that because I know that that's in my process. Like, as I am so committed to what my process looks like and trusting that, knowing I'm still going to get the result, even if it looks different what other people are doing.
So good.
Like, I'm doing that now, buying into it before I go to Japan. Like, I haven't even thrown a moving pitch yet. I've only been working on a changeup and really honing in on like some mechanical my fastball. So that's out of my comfort zone, right? Because you want to I want to get back to Japan. Like, we still have a month of training, but like we have a lot of scrimmage things. And normally, like, you know, kind of getting like freak out mode a little, like, okay, am I not throwing enough? Am I not doing enough? Am I not? Like, I know my process, right? Like, I'm committed to getting my changeup better. I'm committed to working a little bit more efficiently and then getting stronger. So I'm doing those things every day and being really specific on them. Like, I know it's going to pay out. I don't need to do everything and all the things every single day to get to where I need to go.
Yeah, that's so good. Can you elaborate a little bit about like how you discovered this about yourself? Because I know so many kids now, especially when they're in that recruiting area, even us now playing in the pros, like we still struggle with comparison and comparing our processes to other people. Like, how did you get to the point where you were just like, I'm gonna focus on me? Like, what did it take to be able to do that?
First sparked from not making that team, because I was doing that all the time and it was just like, it was exhausting. So it was like, it kind of clicked a little bit where I did start to see the results from like okay, what am I going to do today? And cycling, the Peloton cycling actually became a huge part of my like routine.
Yeah.
Myself
Love
in shape.
that.
It was like those little moments of like, I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to try this out. And then like, I actually started seeing some results from it. But again, right, like buying into that, like knowing what I'm going to do is going to work, or like be willing to try, right? As like younger athletes, like you are looking to other people or your coaches are telling you a lot of things. But like, I guess my advice would just be to like just start being more aware of it. Like just start paying attention to when you do maybe have that comparison thought, or like, what does your thought process look like when you go into practice? Do you even have one? Like just start to become even like aware of it. And I think you'll like learn and pick up on more things where you're like, okay, that doesn't help me, or actually I kind of like that. I want to like stick to that and implement that more. Just becoming more aware of it can be super helpful.
Amazing.
You know what's so funny? I thought of this when I got the Peloton too, is they, if hello Peloton, we are open to sponsors.
That we are.
But what's so crazy is I think that there's a way that you can think that the trainers, the people who are taking you through these spins can be a little cheesy and you got this, like leave the stress at the door. All the things that they say, you can look at it and be like, oh, that's silly. Like they're not really talking to me. Or you can listen to that and be like, yes, absolutely. I am all in on this. I'm in on me. I remember thinking that when I first started, I'm like, I feel like my confidence is growing because I'm listening to these people telling me that I should believe in myself. I'm investing in myself and making it to where it's your journey, it's your thing. Forget everything else. And that's a lot like of what it sounds like your journey is listening and believing that.
Yeah. And like how many, I heard this, there's like this stat, I don't know where it came from, but the voices you talk to yourself, like there's 50,000 words a day that you're saying to yourself in your brain. Like it was like mind blowing to me. So
Yeah.
happens, right? Like we're human, you have like this constant like talk to yourself all the time. And whether that's like your own talk, but then you also have like what you're watching, the like Peloton rides, people are talking, coach, your parent, like there's constantly these voices going on. So for me too, it was like just like practice or softball, you're going to your lesson, like you have to practice how you speak to yourself or how you're like listening or not listening to certain things. It just doesn't like be like, oh, this person's negative and now I'm going to be negative, or my voice today negative, so I'm going to be negative, or oh, today's positive, it's talking to me good, I'm going to have a good day. Like it's this roller coaster, right? If we can be able to like control those thoughts better, or like that's a positive thing with the Peloton bike, like I know people are positive and going to give me something to be better. So like choosing for yourself every day, like what you're listening to, what you're paying attention to, the voices you're listening to, and then like the self-talk piece, like that has to be a constant practice and effort to change those thoughts, because like the first thought you think of, like sometimes it's negative, like that's going to happen, we're human, but like then what's your next thought, what's your response thought, how are you then going to flip it into something like positive or productive?
Yeah,
that's so
good. Again, if this mic didn't have a stand, I would drop it.
Just boom. We're not holding it up. It's magic.
No, it's very magical. No, Allie, I think one of the things that I like, you're talking about like the roller coaster of emotions. I think one thing that I admire from playing with you the last few years is every single day when you show up so consistently and so focused, and your energy, whatever it is that day, it's just constant and it permeates through the entire team. And I think one of my favorite moments, like seeing everything come to fruition for you, was not only you making that Olympic team and doing really well in the Olympics, but it was the year after when we went to Birmingham for the World Games and you were in the circle and you got to have that final out when we beat Japan on our home soil. And I have like my favorite picture from that is you like screaming your guts out and we are like lifting you up in the circle after we won that game. And to see all that come to fruition for you, I think you were talking earlier about seeing the results piece and like that really helped you get into that process. What was that moment like for you on an individual level, knowing that everything that you had gone through, like seeing it come like cumulatively, big word, come together in that moment?
I'm glad you brought that up, because for me, like the Olympics was awesome, but for me as like a selfish, like just being selfish for like 0.2 seconds,
Mhm.
like that was like my most fun, most rewarding moment in my softball career to date.
Totally.
And like you said, it was because I stuck to my process for so long and like didn't ever waver in it and like just still believed like I was going to get that moment, and it did happen. So I think one of the coolest things too was, so I talked about how, we played with Monica and Kat, and for the US team for so long, and even other like Rachel Garcia and these younger athletes that come up that like they give us a challenge every year as a pitcher, right? It's like, okay, who's going to get the ball? You never know who's going to get the ball in
Yeah.
moments. And I've gotten a few over my career, but it was like not until that moment where I feel like everything, the process, all the things all came together. And the coolest thing for me was Monica was on that team, and we, Monica and Kat threw a majority of the Olympics, and you just look up to, right? Like I got to play and be around them and see how they do their thing every day. And then Monica was throwing that game. So we played in Japan in the final game, and she, I don't know, it was like the 6th inning I came in for her, and she handed me the ball and was like, "This is your moment. You were made for this." And I was like, that for me was like, okay, like I have been behind her, right, for so long, or behind anyone, not just Monica, but it was just a really cool moment for it to be Monica. But it was like people like that, right? The same thing, like they're giving you the belief. Like I had the belief, but then I'm having Monica be like, "This is your moment, like go get it." And I was like, heck yeah, okay, I'm gonna freaking do this. And it was like selfishly, again, like you get that for yourself, but then you have like Monica Abbott telling you like, "This is your moment, go for it." And I thought that was just like the coolest thing. Like I'll hold on to that forever. And then like Hayla said, we got to freaking beat Japan on like US home soil with, I don't even know how many. There
were like 10,000 people there, I think. It was crazy.
USA. And so for me, like leading, like the Olympics are in 28, like having that moment, I was just like, oh my God, if this is like a small percentage of what the Olympics can feel like, and the Olympics being in the USA in 28, like I want it. I got a sliver of that moment and was like, just craved that. Like, I'm doing everything I'm doing now to get to own that moment and be the one in the circle, and then get the younger girls to join me. Like, I want to be that lead, that person now, But those games were so fun. Like, that was the funnest tournament.
It was awesome. Well, now I want to run through a brick wall again, and my eyes are wet.
I literally like that made my eyes prickle a little with the year moment, because you think, you watch these sports movies and you see all these big moments in history, and the like Halo said, like the culmination of everything leading up to this one moment, and it's Monica giving you the ball and saying, "This is like freaking yours, go do it."
Yeah.
And it's in these times where I think, yeah, people who think sports are just a game are so silly.
Yeah. Totally.
It's so meaningful, and
and like for me, right, like it's such a small little moment, like probably not, I'm sure some people are like, it was a really cool event, so it was like you remember it, but like for me, like that gave me, like every little moment like that, like gives you more of the confidence, gives you more like, yes, I can do this and I want to do this, and like makes you fall in love with it even more. So like that'll always, like all those little moments, I'm always like, okay, I'm putting that in the jar. My jar is like continuing to build with like all the good things that, like, so when things do get hard, or you do go through those like roller coaster moments, like I can go back to that and be like, no, I did freaking do that. And Monica told me I can do that. And I did that. And my team was there supporting me, and we all did it. And it was, you have those moments and you just continue to build on them, which it's kind of where I'm at with just adding all the good things to your bucket.
Amazing. Absolutely incredible.
What a bucket. I want to get my eyes on that bucket. Holy buckets.
Holy
buckets.
Foaming at the mouth over here.
Man, I think what's so interesting, two things that have kind of been a consistent through this conversation is that I think that when people talk about positive thinking, positive self-talk, sometimes it's just like, just be positive and then everything's great. But you've pointed out that, you're going to have negative thoughts. A, you're human, and B, softball is so hard.
Yes.
So I think that that's a point that gets missed in these mental conversations is just be positive without talking about, it's like yin and yang, right? You can't have one without the other. But choosing what to listen to, what to go forward with. And the other thing, I think we talk a lot in the game about comparison. And what you said early on is really interesting, and a point like the yin of the yang is that you were comparing yourself in the mental game in a way where you're like, oh, people have it worse, where sometimes comparing in the physical aspect, you're like, oh, she's better. So the game of comparison is not just, oh, she's so much better than me, like I'm not that good. It could also go in the other way and because I remember when we talked in 2015, your first year on the team, you vocalized that it was at the end of the Japan Cup. We were sitting, Yumi and Chitty, in our hotel room, and you had said, I kind of feel bad because I don't know that I want this position more than someone else. Like I feel like I don't want it enough and somebody else might want it more. And that's that comparison of somebody has maybe, so I would love to hear just the both sides of the coin kind of talk.
Yeah, I do remember that conversation. That's so funny. I think
Yeah.
like I've had that too. Like everyone, you get together for like maybe for a camp or an event or something, and everyone asks you like, tell a little bit about your story or whatever. So many people like say the Olympics was like their dream, or like being on the USA team is like that's all they dreamt about since they were like 5 years old. And so that piece where you're talking about, that was like for me, I didn't really have that. Like I watched USA a bit, and like even college, like I don't even think I really knew, like it just recruiting and all those things, it just wasn't as like big, and like it wasn't on TV all the time, right? So I just think I like played, and I didn't really like think about any of those things. So I think like not feeling bad for that though now, right? Like that's just how I felt. Like every journey is so different. And everyone, and I thought too for the longest time, like that I didn't really have a story. Like everyone's like, what's your story, or what's your journey, or what, like, tell me more. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel like I have a story, or, like something that's that impactful to talk about, but you do, right? Even that small little piece of like how I did feel those things might resonate with someone, and it's helped me on my journey to get to where I am. So it's like just overall owning, like you do have a story, you do have a voice. It's different than someone else's, but no one is the same. We all have to have our own journey and own story in our own way. So I think just like owning and embracing that too has been really helpful on my whole being able to play this long and do all these things. So
oh, that's amazing.
That's
Well,
nice.
as we wrap up here, Ally, I would like to ask you a couple of things. First, if you could give the best piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be? And then following up with, where can all of our Base Hits and Banter fans, we're going to come up with a name for our fans at some point, but where can they follow you and keep up with all of the fun things that you're doing?
Awesome. Okay, my advice to my younger self would be, can I give 2 little things?
You can give as many as you want.
Give 3,
I talked about it, but one would be like, I would have spoke up or asked for some help earlier. And like I said, and whatever you're going through, whatever's going on, whatever you feel is not a good or bad thing. It's just what it is. And ask for help if you need it. It doesn't need to be, like I felt like I need to, be struggling more than someone else. That's not the case. If you are struggling and you feel like you can't do something, ask for help, because everyone out there wants to help you. And then my second thing would be like, just to start to, like we talked about, owning your own process and like not comparing yourself. So start to actually practice those things. Like, what do you like? What do you not like? What feels good to you when you train? What doesn't feel good? Like, just start to know for yourself who you are as a player and a person. Like in life, what do you like? What do you not like? Figure out who you are, not what everyone else wants you to do, or you should like this because it's popular. Like, what do you enjoy? What do you like? And just be that, own that for yourself. Those would be my. And just my biggest stuff, I go on Instagram, so you can follow me at Carda3. All the things. I've just started doing a little bit of some like pitching mindset sessions that have been really fun for me. So if you're a pitcher and interested in any other things, mentality, mindset, how to just compete, you can just head over to my Instagram is the easiest way and shoot me a message. My email's on there, all the things, and we can chat about those. But follow me as I go into Japan and do my thing over there, because I feel so far from everyone when I'm there, but you can still follow along with all that too. So
Amazing. I think I'm gonna be a pitcher just so I can sign up for those pitcher mentality sessions.
100%.
I'm coming
Hey,
back.
it's never too late.
It's never too late.
not at all.
Allie, wow, thanks for dropping so many truth bombs. That
Oh,
was
having me. It's fun.
it's so
Always
important. Yeah, we love talking to you. We were so pumped. We're like, Ally Carda, immediately.
Immediate. Have to have Ally Carda.
like a podcast without having it to be a podcast, and we can just call when I'm in Japan and be like, I just need some nuggets. You guys give me your stuff and we'll just chat.
That
Yeah.
sounds great.
I'll still use this microphone just
Same.
so that, yeah. Just
And
so
I'll
that
probably
we
still
feel-
wear this hoodie.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, everybody, check out USA Softball Store.
Yes, swag.
You too can look like your
Swag.
co-hosts.
Yeah, and I can't wait for my banter box. So whenever you send that.
We gotta
Working
get
on
you.
it.
We gotta get you a banter box. The powers
need
that
to
be at
do-
USA Softball better
Yeah.
send you that banter box.
We need like a graphic that says banter box loading, like dot dot
Yeah.
dot.
Oh
Cool.
my gosh!
Ally,
Thank you
you're the
so
best.
much, Allie.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Love you guys a lot.
We love you.
Safe
USA.
travels.
Thank you.
Get some sleep on the
Bye.
flight.
Yeah, will do.
Thank you guys so much listening to the Base Hits and Banter podcast. Sam, I had a phenomenal time with our guests and just chit-chatting about all things softball. So make sure you guys are following along on social media, our YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing to this podcast. And yeah, keep on bantering with us.
So much banter, so many base hits, you guys. And the other thing too, if you want to look like us and wear, we are fashion icons, Sam Fisher and Haley McClenny.
I'm swagging. I'm surfing.
It's like we have so much swag. It's, we know you're thinking it. We'll say it too. But if you want to get the things that we're wearing on these episodes, you can go to usasoftballstore.com for gear, and the code that you can use for a 15% discount is BHB15. So go use it and then send us pictures. Let us know that you are wearing the same outfits as us, because
Yeah.
while we do love being softball players, we also love being fashion icons.
Right.
So thank you for making our dreams come true.
Thank you so much. Holy buckets.
Until next week.
Holy buckets.
Team USA has brought me opportunities that I never thought would happen before, and I'm super humbled to be able to represent my country.
There's so much talent in the United States playing softball right now, and we want to see the game continue to grow and prosper and develop.
I want to develop not just men, but women's softball as well.
I want to see more girls like me playing this sport.
I just hope one day that I can be somewhat mentioned, like a Natasha Watley, to help this game.
I just remember watching everyone in the Olympics, and you guys just representing this country. And for me playing USA softball, I just want to do the same.